In the world of One Piece, we have been enveloped in many different world-building aspects, mysteries, new islands, lore, and intriguing secrets, those of which create the excitement in our hearts with every single page of every single chapter. Throughout my short journey with One Piece, I have been interested in many different things and I've theorized on a lot of them. Today, however, I will be diving into one of the biggest, that being the Will of D. This is how Luffy will become God's true enemy. If you've made it this far and would like to increase your hockey level, make sure to hit that like button down below, and if you want to further your strength, make sure you subscribe and turn on those post notifications so you never miss an upload. The Will of D is one of those things in One Piece that is surrounded in so much mystery. It's just an initial, it would seem, until you actually try to get information on it, and we see that firsthand with Nico Robin. Nico Robin has mentioned the Will of D on 3 separate occasions. The first time when she rescued Luffy from quicksand during Alabasta, she asked Luffy about the meaning of the D and why those with that name seemed to fight. But of course, it's Luffy, so he had no idea. The second time was when Robin was talking to Gonfall, and this was after they pulled up the ancient belfry. Gonfall tells Robin that Luffy left the same impression on him as Goldie Roger did. And the last time was when we all met Silver's Rayleigh. Robin asked Rayleigh about the significance of the Will of D, and she even brought up the Void Century, and he didn't reply on what the D stood for, but he did say that him and the Roger Pirates had discovered the details of the Void Century. Of course, Robin being Robin though, she declined his offer to tell her about it because she wants to find out the truth for herself. As we can see from just these 3 instances, something that seems common with the Will of D is no one seems to know much about it, but also the tenacity of the bearers. Why do they fight is something Robin asked and can be correlated directly to the will of our protagonist Luffy. Time and time again, Luffy has been in stressful situations, but has remained nevertheless the same. His ambition to live in absolute freedom is personified by the way he acts within the story. He never helps others because he wants to be a hero or because he wants recognition, and he may help some people because he just wants to protect them or it's someone that he deems a friend. But mainly, he does things that he does because, well, he wants to. He enacts his will in the way he sees fit, and he always pushes forward in hopes of creating this freedom for himself, and honestly, up until now, he succeeded. Him living how he wants is that freedom, and it's shown very well through the consistent comparisons to the former king of the pirates, Goldie Roger. Recently in chapter 999, we were greeted by a flashback involving Yamato and Ace. Yamato directly speaks on the initial by saying she has faith in Luffy because he has the initial D in his name. Later in chapter 1000, we see her and Ace speaking once again, and Ace tells Yamato about a huge dream that Luffy has. Yamato informs Ace that Roger had the same exact dream. Let me give you my thoughts on these dreams and its relevancy to the Will of D. Something that seems super relevant to Luffy is the idea of freedom. Now keep in mind, Ace and Sabo both laughed at Luffy for how ridiculously outlandish his dream sounded. What could involve true freedom and also facilitate such a reaction? Well, I believe Luffy and Roger wanted to push their ambitions onto the entirety of the world, to create true freedom for the entire world. A world in which every person can live their truest life in every single way that they want to. Their mindset was one of selflessness. Why should we be the only two to feel this overwhelming freedom and happiness? I want everyone to have that choice. And even if those people don't want to live a full life of freedom, that's their decision and still falls in line with the idea of freedom. Not only do I believe this is Luffy and Roger's dream, but also Joy Boys. The idea that Roger and then Luffy are the reincarnations of Joy Boy is something that has been spoke of in the community for a very long time. To me, that theory does make sense, especially when you think about Whitebeard's words at Marineford. This infamous speech that he gave when he was talking to Blackbeard. You're not the one, Teach. The man Roger was waiting for at the very least, it's not you. Just as there are people who inherited Roger's will, someday, one will carry Ace's will. You may eradicate their bloodline, but their flame never dies. For many ages, it has been passed down through the generations, and someday, bearing the weight of all these generations, a man will appear to challenge this world. Sengoku, you people of the world government are living in fear of that great battle that will someday engulf the entire world. Though it has nothing to do with me, when somebody finds that treasure, the world will be turned upside down. Oh yes, it will be found. The day will come, One Piece is out there. The idea of inherited will is something we often speak of when talking about legendary characters such as Zebek, Roger, Joy Boy, etc. Not only was Joy Boy's will inherited, but so was his dream. The Will of D, to me at least, is an overwhelming will to complete Joy Boy's dream. a dream in which his reincarnates, Luffy at the time, are the pioneers for, which is why Luffy can so easily influence those around him and get them to believe in him. The other D members are most likely descendants of Joy Boy from the Ancient Kingdom. They have been reincarnated into these new individuals in hope of helping their former king, Joy Boy, complete his mission. I've spoke about my thoughts on the Ancient Kingdom before in my most viewed video to date, and for those of you who are interested in that, check it out after this one. In that video, I spoke about my thoughts on the Ancient Kingdom, Emu, why those wanted posters of Luffy Blackbeard were torn up, and why Emu was examining pictures of Vivi and Shirahoshi. In my perspective, Joy Boy may have been the first person with the D initial. Emu and the Celestial Dragons fear anyone in the D clan. They carry themselves like gods, and they feel as if the D may be the true enemies of the gods. If you recall, Don Quixote Rocinante learned that law is a D, and he revealed the law that those with the initial in their name are from the fated family of D. In the country that Rocinante came from, they were told children who misbehave would be eaten up by the D clan members. Similarly, elders of that country seemed quite wary of the storm that those with the D were known to cause. Rocinante explained to Law that the D has been secretly inherited worldwide and throughout history, and that in a certain land, the D's are considered to be the natural enemy of the Celestial Dragons, but because the Celestial Dragons are considered to be gods. To me, this explains the torn up wanted posters and set up for what is to come. In my mind, Emu being someone who was from the Void Century and the potential rival or former partner to Joy Boy, he knows all about the D clan and can see something dangerous in Luffy and Blackbeard specifically. Thus, shredding their pictures implies he must get rid of them. But what does Shirahoshi and Vivi have in common? Well, Shirahoshi is Poseidon. We know that Poseidon is one of the three ancient weapons alongside Pluton and Uranus. It is basically a mermaid with the power to communicate with sea kings, and currently it is manifested in Shirahoshi. Poseidon has the power to communicate and control the sea kings, and this is an ability that not even the most powerful merfolk possess. It's considered to be a powerful weapon because the sea kings have destructive potential to sink islands with ease, and to control such a force is regarded as one of the most fearsome abilities in the entire world. Now, we talked about Shirahoshi's relevance, but what about Vivi? Well, during Water 7 in Enies Lobby, Frankie gets captured by the world government, but he had the blueprints of Pluton hidden within his own body until we understood that Nico Robin, the only person that could read the poneglyphs, did not want to revive the ancient weapons and had no intention of doing so. She didn't want to use them whatsoever. So after he finds out about this, he ends up burning the blueprints. Now, we don't know where the exact whereabouts of the originals are, but we do know that there is a poneglyph that has information about the location of the blueprints, and that is in Alabasta. Who has info and ties to Alabasta and its royalty? Well, Vivi does. I say that to say this: I believe the reason why Emu was interested in the other two are because of their ties to ancient weapons. I also believe the damage done to each picture depicts how dangerous Emu believes them to be, and he shredded Luffy and Blackbeard's because he is most worried about those two. But why is this? Because the D clan scare the Celestial Dragon. They are terrified because of the history of the Void Century and what happened over 800 years ago. Emu is determined to destroy Joy Boy's reincarnate and finally extinguish the idea of true freedom. When you think about the world government in a lot of different ways, we can relate, especially those of us who are living under government systems in our own countries. No matter what situation we are in life, there is some sort of monopoly that controls the majority of the power. And why this is can be for many different reasons. However, they typically involve greed, power, or the need for control. Power-hungry individuals exist in all facets of life, and that's because having power over something or someone is exhilarating and can even become addicting. Why would Emu, the king of the people who run the world, be afraid of introducing ultimate freedom, you may ask? And it's simple. He doesn't want to give up that power. He doesn't want their secrets to get spread because that may cause vulnerability. That may cause an uprising of sorts, a rebellion, one that could shake their foundation and remove them from this power stance they so desperately want to hold on to. Now, we've talked about one side of things and one side of this power struggle, but in my mind, there's also a legitimate argument that Emu and the Celestial Dragons could have been underneath the people of the D at some point in time. Let's talk about the Ancient Kingdom. This great kingdom was an ancient kingdom that was said to be vast, proud, and powerful. Now, all mentions of its history have been erased, and even its name remains a secret. but it was likely an enemy of the 20 kingdoms, which are now the world government, as implied by Professor Clover, and was seemingly destroyed utterly by them over 800 years ago at the end of the Void Century. In fact, it seems its defeat allowed the Ancient Alliance to seize global control and establish the world government. Furthermore, the Ancient Kingdom is the real reason the world government has banned any poneglyph deciphering and research, as the mere existence and idea of this kingdom presents a threat to the world government. These 20 kingdoms seem to be the enemies of the Ancient Kingdom. Why would they deem them as a threat? Well, what if it's a pride thing? What if Imu and the Celestial Dragons weren't always the true ones in power? What if the D's were the ones on the opposite side of the power struggle at some point? I know that being the secret of the Void Century may seem petty to some of you, however, they are very cocky individuals. We have seen the Celestial Dragons flaunt themselves around, acting as if they're superior, mistreating those around them, and even carrying around their slaves. They believe they are the ultimate life forms, that those who aren't Celestial Dragons are inferior. They control the power dynamic. They are in control, and they want to keep that. A lot of times in life, the government or those in power are just figureheads. They are just ones who deliberate and push laws, but physically, they aren't ever a threat. Most of the time, it's the people underneath them that protect them and make sure they remain in power. In theory, all it would take is for a rebellion, and they in essence couldn't do anything about it. But it doesn't normally happen. And that's because they have set up their importance and power over years of being in control. After a while, it becomes the norm. It becomes something that people just deal with and believe in. These individuals are and have always been in power, so that's the way it's supposed to be. What could change that mindset? Information that could be damning to that mindset. Information from the Void Century that would make them look weak, make them look like people who weren't originally in power. Information that the D-Clan are the true rulers of this world, the true ones worthy of the power. That's where Luffy comes in. Luffy isn't interested in power. He's not interested in being the ruler of the world. He wants to be the Pirate King and have true freedom. And that's why he's the perfect enemy for Imu, and someone who will test Imu's very foundation and false power. In my mind, the revolutionaries will be in a power clash with the world government and Imu, and because of Luffy's relations with Sabo, he will most definitely be involved in this altercation. But I don't think it's just a coincidence. The D-Clan seem to be destined to oppose the Celestials. The will of D is overwhelming. It's something that shapes the entirety of their subconscious when it involves Celestials. This inherited D bloodline is something stemming from their time and power when the descendants were a part of the Great Kingdom. Imu and Joy Boy have a very, very different relationship. To me, it seems that they could have been friends at some point, they could have been comrades or even rivals. It seems to me that they may have spent some time together and have interacted. I talked a little bit about them in my Imu and Joy Boy video and how I think the first devil fruit was introduced, and because of my thought processes on that, I do believe that perhaps Imu felt like his blood got tainted, that Joy Boy introducing the devil fruits to the world was him tainting the bloodline of everyone involved within the Ancient Kingdoms and the 20 Kingdoms, and that's why he turned on him at some point. That is my initial thought, but also after making this theory, I believe that it could have been something like a power struggle that made them start to resent each other. That Joy Boy having control and monopolizing the devil fruits could have made Imu and the other people of the 20 Kingdoms start to resent him and start to want a taste of that power as well. I really believe that because of Imu turning on Joy Boy, this will of D, Joy Boy himself, is kind of like a curse. He, in some ways, cursed Imu and all of his people. If you think about why they call this person Joy Boy, and you correlate this to other times in the stories where these D's or these legendary figures seem to smile in death, it makes you think, why are they smiling? When you see Roger get executed, he's smiling. When you see Luffy about to get executed in Logtown, he was smiling. All these times when they're in these dangerous situations, and these stressful situations, or as of chapter 1011, as Kaido said, these precarious situations, they seem to smile. And the more they laugh, well, it got cut off. There was that mistranslation. However, I do think that it has a lot of relevancy to this theory. I think that they smile because they know that even if they die, that even if Joy Boy's reincarnate fails in this lifetime, it will just move on to the next person, and it will become an endless curse, an endless cycle for Imu and all of his people. That no matter what, Joy Boy will live on, and the will of D will get passed on. I don't like to push the idea of destiny when speaking about every manga, and especially not One Piece, because I don't want it to seem as if I'm saying Luffy was always destined to be great. However, I do believe that Luffy living his dream of true freedom will indirectly make him cross paths with the exact opposite and true leader of the people who oppose Joy Boy. As I've said in other videos, I do believe Sabo and Dragon will directly oppose Imu and the Celestial Dragons. It is something that has been set up for a very long time, and the very thing I believe Sabo is supposed to succeed in inside of the story. Luffy has already lost one of his brothers, that being Ace, to the clutches of the Marines, and I highly doubt in my mind that Luffy would allow the same thing to happen to the only brother he has left. For this reason, Luffy will in fact help Sabo in his endeavor, not because he's being forced to do so, but because he wants to. And what is that? That is Luffy choosing his own path and living in his freedom, protecting those who he deems important to him. So as I said, indirectly, him living like the man I believe he is as a reincarnation of Joy Boy will lead him to oppose Imu. There's nothing that can stop these two from clashing. The one man who can oppose Imu is the same man with the ability to reach Laugh Tale and find the secrets of the Void Century. Monkey D. Luffy is the true enemy of the gods, the true enemy of Imu, and the will of D is simply a passed down, overwhelming destiny that drives all the members to oppose the ones who betrayed Joy Boy in the past, the fated clan of members who will always oppose gods, the chosen few, destined for greatness. Thank you guys for listening to this theory. I spent a lot of time on this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. But of course, I want to know all of your thoughts and perspectives on this theory, so make sure you comment down below and let me know. Also, my Discord link is down there as well. Make sure you guys click that link and join the server. And as always, I hope you all are staying safe and healthy during these trying times. This has been Synsei Inc., and I will see you all in the next video.